24 hours after burying my husband, my mother-in-law threw my clothes on the lawn. "You got what you wanted," she screamed. "Now get out of our house." They thought I was a gold digger left with nothing, but I was hiding $500 million and about to teach them all a lesson. If you think you know how cruel people can be, wait until you hear what my own family did to me. This story will shock you. Subscribe now, because you won't believe how I got my revenge, and who showed their true face when they thought I had nothing. Drop a comment at the end and tell me if you would have done the same thing. Now let me tell you exactly what happened. I can still see her standing on that marble porch, my mother-in-law Beverly, with her arms crossed and her face twisted into something ugly. My clothes were scattered across the perfectly manicured lawn, like trash. Dresses I'd worn to family dinners, where nobody spoke to me. Shoes I'd carefully picked out, hoping they'd finally accept me. My wedding album, laying face down in the wet grass. This was 24 hours after we'd buried my husband. 24 hours after I'd stood at his grave and felt my entire world collapse. I was still wearing black. My eyes were still swollen from crying all night. And this woman who'd raised the man I loved, was throwing me out like garbage. "You got what you wanted," Beverly screamed, loud enough for every neighbor on that wealthy street to hear. "Now get out of our house." Behind her I could see the rest of them. Howard, my father-in-law, standing in the doorway with his arms crossed like some kind of king. Crystal, my sister-in-law, actually filming the whole thing on her phone, with this sick little smile on her face. And Andre, the brother-in-law, looking down at his shoes because he was too weak to say anything. They all thought the same thing. They thought I'd married Terrence for his family's money. They thought I was a broke little gold digger who'd trapped their precious son. And now that he was gone, they thought I had nothing. They thought they'd won. But what they didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I was standing on that lawn, hiding $500 million, and I was about to teach every single one of them a lesson they would never ever forget. Let me take you back 6 years, because you need to understand how I got here. I met Terrence when I was 26 years old. I was a community college student, studying nursing, working double shifts at a little diner just to afford rent and tuition. I was exhausted all the time, running on coffee and dreams, wondering if I'd ever actually make it. Then this man started coming in every Tuesday night. He always sat in my section, always ordered the same thing, black coffee and apple pie, and always left a $20 tip on a $6 check. We'd talk while I refilled his coffee. He'd ask me about school, about my dreams, about my day. He listened like what I said actually mattered. It took him 3 months to finally ask me out. When he did, his hands were shaking. This confident, successful man was nervous to ask out a tired waitress in a stained uniform. That's when I knew he was different. On our third date, he told me the truth. He came from money, real money. His family owned a real estate empire worth hundreds of millions. Old wealth, the kind where you summer in one place and winter in another, where you know governors and senators personally. But Terrence wasn't like that. He'd built his own tech company from nothing, completely separate from the family business, because he wanted to prove he could make it on his own. He was brilliant and kind, and so good. I fell in love with him because of who he was, not what he had. I need you to believe that. I loved that man with everything in me. His family hated me from the very first second. I'll never forget the first dinner. Beverly looked at me like I was dirt she'd stepped in. She called me the nurse all evening, never once used my actual name. Howard asked what my parents did for a living, and when I told him my mama was a home health aide and my daddy had passed when I was young, you could have heard a pin drop. Crystal actually laughed, this cold little sound, and said, "How quaint," like my life was some kind of joke. Only Andre showed me any kindness, and even that felt like pity. They didn't come to our wedding, not a single one. We got married at City Hall with 2 strangers as witnesses, and Terrence held my hand and promised me we'd build our own family, that we didn't need them. But we ended up living in the family mansion anyway, because Terrence was trying to keep the peace. He kept saying we'd move out soon, that he was working on something big, that everything would change. And it did. His tech company exploded. He was about to sell it for an amount that would make him wealthier than his entire family combined. $500 million. He told me exactly 1 week before he died. We were lying in bed, and he held my face in his hands and said, "Baby, I changed everything. Every document, every paper. You're protected now. No matter what happens, you're protected. They can't touch you." I asked him what he meant, and he just kissed my forehead. "My family's going to show you who they really are when I'm gone. But you'll be okay." I made sure of it. 7 days later, he was gone. Car accident, on his way home from the lawyer's office. He'd just signed the final paperwork for the company's sale. $500 million transferred to his personal estate, completely separate from the family money. And I was the sole beneficiary. His wife, the woman he loved, but nobody knew yet. The family had no idea. They were still thinking about their precious family trust, their real estate empire, their old money. They had no clue that Terrence had become richer than all of them combined, and that he'd left every single penny to me. The funeral was a nightmare. Beverly acted like I wasn't even there. She planned everything without asking me a single question, chose flowers he would have hated, played music he never listened to. Crystal whispered to her friends, loud enough for me to hear. She trapped him with a pregnancy scare. You know, I'd had a miscarriage the year before. They knew that. They were using my pain as a weapon. Howard gave a speech about family legacy and never mentioned me once. I sat in that church, numb and broken, and watched them erase me like I'd never existed. Andre squeezed my shoulder once, whispered, "I'm sorry," but that was it. That was all I got. Then came the day after the funeral. That's when they called the family meeting. I was upstairs in our bedroom, the room I'd shared with Terrence, crying so hard I couldn't breathe. Beverly pounded on the door. "Family meeting, downstairs, now." I walked down those stairs, and they were all sitting there in the living room, like a tribunal. Beverly in her chair, like a queen. Howard standing by the fireplace. Crystal on the couch with her phone in her hand. Andre by the window, avoiding my eyes. Beverly didn't waste time. "This house belongs to this family," she said. "Always has, always will. Terrence is gone. You have no reason to be here anymore." Howard stepped forward. "You married him for money. Everyone knows it. Everyone's always known it." I tried to speak, and Crystal cut me off. "You trapped my brother, got yourself pregnant on purpose, and then conveniently lost it." I felt like I'd been slapped. They were monsters. These people were actual monsters. Beverly stood up. "You have 1 week to pack your things and leave this house. Don't even think about fighting us. We have lawyers. We have money. You have nothing." The next day, their family lawyer showed up. Mr. Sterling, this old man who'd worked for them for 30 years. He sat me down at the dining room table while they all hovered behind him like vultures. "Mrs. Washington," he said, and at least he used my name, "I'm sorry for your loss, but we need to discuss the estate." He pulled out the prenup I'd signed when Terrence and I got married. I'd signed it willingly because I didn't care about money. I just wanted him. The prenup was clear. If the marriage ended before 10 years, I got $50,000. That's it. We'd only been married 6 years. The house, the cars, everything in the family trust, it all went back to them. Beverly smiled, actually smiled. "See? You get your little check, and you leave." I just sat there. I didn't say anything. I let them think they'd won. Because what they didn't know, what that lawyer didn't know, because he only handled the family trust, was that Terrence's company's sale had nothing to do with any of that. It was his separate property, built with his own hands, his own brain, his own money, and every single penny went to his personal estate. To me, $500 million after taxes. But I said nothing. I just nodded like my heart was broken over losing their money. Moving day was worse than the funeral. Beverly watched from the window while I loaded my old Honda with trash bags full of clothes. Crystal filmed the whole thing on her phone, laughing with her friends. I could hear her. "Gold digger eviction day," she said, and I knew she was posting it on social media. Andre brought me one box of things from the attic. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I really am. But sorry doesn't mean much when you watch it happen and do nothing." I drove away from that mansion, and I saw them through the window. They were opening champagne, celebrating throwing out a widow who'd just lost everything. I moved into a tiny studio apartment on the other side of town. One room, barely enough space for a bed and a couch. I got a job at a community health clinic as a nurse. It paid almost nothing, but it kept me busy. I wore scrubs from the thrift store. I rode the bus. I ate ramen and canned soup. And the whole time, I had $500 million sitting in a private trust that nobody knew about. My husband's estate lawyer had set everything up exactly how Terrence wanted. Completely hidden, completely protected. The family had no idea. They thought I got my $50,000, and that was it. They thought I was struggling. They thought I was broken. And then the real torture began. Crystal called me 3 weeks after I moved out. Her voice was fake sweet, like poisoned honey. "Hey, so I feel really bad about how everything went down." I didn't say anything. "But you took some of Mom's jewelry when you left. We need it back." I hadn't taken anything except what Terrence had given me. "I didn't take anything that wasn't mine," I told her. "Don't make us get the police involved," she said. So I returned a necklace that Terrence had bought me for our anniversary. I had photos, receipts, everything proving it was mine, but I gave it back anyway. Crystal sold it the next week, posted a picture on Instagram with the caption, "Getting back what belongs to the family." Beverly called my job pretending to be a patient's family member. She told my supervisor I was unstable, that I'd just lost my husband, that I shouldn't be working with vulnerable people. She tried to get me fired. It didn't work because I was a good nurse, because I showed up every day and did my job and helped people. But she tried. Andre texted me once, "Mom's telling everyone you stole from the house. Just stay quiet. It'll blow over." Like it was my responsibility to take their abuse quietly. Howard's lawyers sent me a cease and desist letter telling me to stop using the family name. I was still legally Mrs. Washington. I ignored it. Crystal's social media campaign was the worst. She posted constantly pictures of my old car with captions like, "Karma hits different." Vague posts about people showing their true colors. One post went semi-viral in their wealthy social circle. My brother deserved better than a broke nurse pretending to be classy, her friends commented. Hundreds of people who'd never met me, calling me a gold digger, saying I got what I deserved. I saw every single post. I read every single comment. And I said nothing. 3 months after Terrence died, I ran into Beverly at the grocery store. I was in line with my cart full of generic brand items, counting change to make sure I had enough. She walked in with her country club friends, all of them dripping in designer clothes. She saw me and her voice got loud, real loud. "Some people really fall fast, don't they?" Her friends turned to look. They whispered. They laughed. Beverly told them, loud enough for the whole store to hear, she married my son for money and ended up right back in the gutter where she belonged. I paid for my groceries with cash. I kept my head up. I walked out, and I added it to the list of things I would never forget. 6 months passed like this. 6 months of poverty I was choosing, of abuse I was documenting, of cruelty I was collecting like evidence. Then I ran into Andre at a coffee shop. He actually sat down with me. He looked genuinely sorry. "I know they've been awful," he said. "I miss Terrence too. How are you making it?" I lied. I told him I was working extra shifts, that I was getting by, that it was hard, but I'd survive. He pulled out his wallet and gave me $200. "Please take it. I feel terrible about everything." I took it, not because I needed it, but because I wanted him to feel exactly how guilty he should feel. I wanted him to know that his silence had consequences. Then everything changed. Howard's real estate empire started struggling. Bad investments, market downturn, tenants not paying. They were still rich, but they had what wealthy people call liquidity problems. They needed cash fast. They had this big development deal, luxury condos on the waterfront, but they needed an investor, $10 million. Without it, the whole project would collapse. They were desperate. Through my lawyer, I created a shell company. We approached their company as a potential investor. They had no idea it was me. My lawyer handled all the calls, all the emails. They were so desperate, they didn't ask too many questions. We set up a meeting at the fanciest restaurant in the city. I walked in, wearing a designer suit I'd never worn. Hair done professionally, makeup perfect. My lawyer beside me in his expensive shoes and briefcase. The whole family was there. Beverly, Howard, Crystal, Andre. They were already seated, looking nervous and trying to hide it. I watched Beverly's face as I walked toward the table. I watched her eyes go wide, watched her mouth fall open. I watched the exact moment she recognized me. "You?" she said, and her voice cracked. I sat down slowly. I let the silence stretch. Then I smiled. "Hello, Beverly. Howard, Crystal, Andre." My lawyer pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. "My client has $10 million available for investment. But first, let's discuss terms." Crystal found her voice first. "Where did you get $10 million? She said it like I'd robbed a bank. My lawyer opened the folder. Mrs. Washington is the sole beneficiary of her late husband's company sale. The sale was finalized one day before his death, $500 million after taxes. The silence was beautiful. Beverly's hand started shaking. Crystal's face went white. Andre looked like he might throw up. Howard just stared, his mouth opening and closing like a fish. "That's impossible," he finally said. "We went through everything. We saw the will." My lawyer smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. The company was Mr. Washington's separate property, built entirely without family funds or resources. His wife inherited everything. It's all legal, all final, all hers. Beverly tried to recover. You could see her brain working, trying to find the angle. "Well, this is wonderful news." Her voice was too bright, too loud. "Family should help family after all." I just looked at her. Crystal leaned forward. "Look, we were all grieving. People say things they don't mean when they're upset." I smiled. "You filmed me being evicted and posted it on social media. You called me a gold digger to thousands of people. You tried to get me fired from my job." Howard tried to use his authority voice, the one that probably worked on business partners. "Terrence would have wanted you to help his family." I leaned back in my chair. "The same family that threw me out 24 hours after his funeral? That family." I let them squirm. I let them try to explain, try to justify, try to make excuses. Then I leaned forward. I sat in that studio apartment for 6 months. I rode the bus in the rain. I ate dollar store food. I worked 12-hour shifts, standing on my feet. Every single one of you had my phone number. Did anyone call? Did anyone check if I was okay? If I was eating? If I was surviving? The silence was deafening. Andre gave me $200 once, out of pity. That was it. That was the only kindness I got from this family. Andre looked down at his hands. He couldn't meet my eyes. Beverly's were filling with tears, but they weren't sad tears. They were angry tears. She was furious that I'd flipped the script. Crystal opened her mouth and closed it again. She had nothing to say. For once in her life, she had nothing to say. I stood up. "I'm not investing $10 million in your company." I watched hope die in their eyes. "But I am buying the building you're trying to develop." My lawyer slid another document across the table. "I'm purchasing it for $12 million, above your purchase price. You'll make a small profit." Howard's face changed. He thought maybe this wasn't so bad. Then I continued. "I'm turning it into affordable housing. The first month is free for single mothers and widows. It's going to be called the Terrence Washington Memorial Complex." Beverly stood up so fast, her chair fell backward. You vindictive little. I cut her off. I'm doing exactly what my husband would have wanted, helping people who actually need it. People like me. People like I was when you threw me out. I picked up my purse. Oh, and Crystal, you might want to make your social media private. By tomorrow, every news outlet in the city is going to know this story. How the wealthy family threw out the widow, and she came back a millionaire. How you filmed her eviction. How you mocked her poverty. It's all documented. Every post, every comment, every cruel word. My lawyer has screenshots of everything. Crystal's face went from white to green. You can't do that. I smiled. Watch me. I looked at each of them one last time. Money didn't change me. It just showed me exactly who all of you are, and I will never forget it. Then I walked out of that restaurant with my head held high. The story hit the news the next day. Widow inherits $500 million, turns family's development into housing for the poor. Every major outlet picked it up. The photos of my clothes on the lawn that Crystal had posted went viral. People found her social media. They found every cruel post, every mocking comment. The internet did what the internet does. She had to delete everything and disappear. Beverly and Howard's country club friends started asking questions. Their reputation in their precious social circle was destroyed. Andre sent me a long email. He actually apologized, really apologized, took accountability, said he was ashamed. I forgave him eventually, not because he deserved it, but because holding on to hate was poisoning me. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. We have coffee sometimes now, but it's different. It'll always be different. The housing complex opened 6 months later. I was there cutting the ribbon with news cameras everywhere. 50 families moved in, single mothers who'd been living in their cars, widows who'd lost everything, women who reminded me of who I could have been if Terrence hadn't protected me. I still work as a nurse 2 days a week, not because I need the money, but because I love it. Because those patients don't care about my bank account. They care that I show up, that I listen, that I help. I'm dating again. A teacher named Cameron. I met him at a bookstore when I was still pretending to be poor. He bought me coffee because I was short on change. He didn't know who I was, didn't know what I had. He just liked me. We've been together for 8 months now, and he loves me the same, whether I'm wearing scrubs or designer dresses. That's how I know it's real. I learned something through all of this. Money doesn't change you. It reveals everyone else. It shows you who loves you and who loves what you have. It shows you who'll stand by you when you're broken and who'll kick you when you're down. Beverly, Howard, Crystal, they showed me exactly who they were when they thought I had nothing. And I'm grateful, not because I'm bitter, but because I'm free. Free from caring what they think. Free from needing their approval. Free from the weight of pretending we were ever really family. Terrence knew. He knew they'd turn on me. That's why he protected me. That's why he made sure I'd be okay. And wherever he is now, I hope he's proud. Because I didn't just survive them. I won. Not by being cruel back, though I'll admit revenge felt pretty sweet, but by using that money the way he would have wanted. To help people. To build something good. To honor his memory the right way. So let me ask you something. Would you have done the same thing? Would you have hidden the money and watched them show their true colors? Or would you have told them the truth from the start? Some of you watching this might think I was cruel, that I should have told them, that I should have been the bigger person. But ask yourself this. What would your family do if they thought you were broke? Would they throw you out, mock you on social media, try to destroy what little you had left? Or would they love you exactly the same? I learned the hard way that sometimes the people who should love you the most will hurt you the worst. But I also learned that real love exists. It's just not always where you expect to find it. It's in the teacher who buys you coffee when you're short on change. It's in the coworkers who treat you the same, whether you're rich or poor. It's in showing up and doing good, even when no one's watching. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button right now. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that they can survive anything. Drop a comment and tell me your story. Have you ever had to cut off family? Have you ever discovered who someone really was when things got hard? I read every single comment, and your stories matter to me. Remember, the truth might hurt, but it always sets you free. Thank you for listening to my story. Until next time, take care of yourself, and remember, you're worth more than anyone's opinion of you.